19th, 2021 meeting of the City of Raleigh Appearance Commission. My name is Corey Bates, and I am chair of the commission. The commission is charged to provide guidance, advice, and recommendations regarding the visual quality, aesthetic characteristics of the City of Raleigh. The members of the commission represent a varied field of expertise and interest in the quality of design in Raleigh. We'll now call the cases in the order which they appear on the agenda, and I will note one change on the agenda that the applicant for AAD 10-21 has requested to postpone their items to the September 16th meeting, so we will not discuss that one today. So that just leaves one case, AAD 11-21. It's 7100 Falls of Noose Road. The applicants Danielle Hammond and Diana Howell, and we'll go ahead and hear from staff presentation from Charles, if you'd like to give us the rundown, Charles.
Sure. So this is a request for administrative alternate for UDO section 1.5.6 build 2. I'll read the definition and the intent. So the definition of build 2 is the area on the lot where a certain percentage of the front principal building facade must be located, measured as a minimum and maximum setback range from the edge of the proposed or existing right-of-way, whichever is greater. The required percentage specifies the amount of the front building facade that must be located in the build 2, measured based on the width of the building divided by the width of the site or lot. Intent. 1, the build 2 is intended to provide a range for building placement that strengthens the street edge along the right-of-way, establishing a sense of enclosure by providing spatial definition adjacent to the street. 2, the building edge can be supplemented by architectural elements and certain tree plantings aligned in a formal rhythm. The harmonious placement of buildings to establish the street edge is a principal means by which the character of an area or district is defined. 3, the build 2 range is established to accommodate some flexibility in specific site design while maintaining the established street edge. The one general requirement in Part C that pertains to this site is number 1, this is a corner lot. So on corner lots, a building facade must be placed within the build 2 for the first 30 feet along the street extending from the block corner. So just read a short description of the project here. The applicant is proposing to develop a new bank branch building on a 1.95 acre site located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Falls of Noose Road and Harps Mill Road. The parcel was recently rezoned to office mixed use, 3 stories, parking limited frontage with conditional use. Zoning conditions include prohibition on certain uses, tree conservation requirements, maximum building height of 2 stories, and maximum building area of 15,000 square feet. For a primary street frontage, the parking limited designation calls for a build 2 of 5 to 100 feet, 50% of which must be occupied by building width. Both Falls of Noose Road and Harps Mill Road are designated as primary streets. The corner build 2 requirement that the building be placed in the first 30 feet of the build 2 from along the street extending from the block corner also applies to this building. The proposed building meets the corner requirement and is placed within the build 2 on both streets, but only occupies 33% of the lot width on Falls of Noose Road and 32% on Harps Mill Road. As an alternate design, the applicant proposes amenity areas along each block face at lengths sufficient to meet the coverage width requirement when combined with building length. Any questions from the commission?
Any questions for staff this time? All right, being none, we will go ahead and open it to the applicant. If you'd like to come forward and give your presentation.
So we'll have 3 of us speaking, and we'll introduce ourselves before each of us speak on our portion of the presentations. I'm Danielle Hammond. I am... Sorry. And then do I have control? Yes.
Yeah, you do have control, and if you'd like to use this one, it's better.
And next is... Okay, perfect. Hello, I'm Danielle Hammond with Kimley Horn & Associates, and I am the civil engineer for this project. Just want to give a general talk through the site plan and just general project information before we dive into our proposed alternates. So as mentioned, the existing property had a rezoning in late 2020 to office mixed use with parking limited frontage consistent with the surrounding uses. And one condition of the rezoning was a maximum building height of 2 floors and a maximum building square footage of 15,000 square feet. The project, as proposed, consists of an approximately 15,000 square foot bank and office building, remote baking, drive-through, and ATM, and associated parking area behind the bank. The proposed building is located within the build-to range along both Falls of Noose and Harps Mill Road, and the administrative alternate request is for a reduction in the percent of build-to requirement along both primary street frontages. And as mentioned, according to City of Raleigh's code, Harps Mill Road and Falls of Noose Road are both classified as primary streets for this corner. The areas that would have otherwise been occupied by building facade are to be utilized by outdoor amenity area and enhanced landscaping to enhance the frontage along both streets. The site layout is compliant with the parking limited frontage requirement and actually exceeds the parking limited frontage requirement by providing all parking spaces to the rear of the building and provides no parking between the building and the right-of-way. And additionally, the project is reducing the number of driveways from the existing condition to only 1 driveway on each Falls of Noose Road and Harps Mill Road. Next, I will turn it over to Karen with SEPI to discuss our amenity area administrative alternates that we're proposing in lieu of meeting the build-to requirement.
Hello, my name is Karen Creech. Excuse me. All right, so I wanted to talk about the 3 different amenity enhancements that were introduced into this project. The first one is along Falls of the Noose Road. There's a connecting sidewalk to the north of the building, and along that there is a bike rack, and we are proposing a bike service station with air and tools adjacent to this. Eventually, when Falls of the Noose widens, there is a bus shelter that is proposed for this area as well, so we think that will complement those users who may potentially be on a bike and need some sort of service for that. The second area is around the, street frontage of the building. We are exceeding code minimum there and enhancing with a variety of plant palette, heights, evergreens, and deciduous, and there are 2 additional connections to the right-of-way that link to an architecturally highlighted corner entrance. And then along Harps Mill Road, due to grading, there's the introduction of a seating area with a bench and ground level material change with brick to complement the building. This area is recessed into the buffer to avoid the site triangle for that entry drive. This will serve pedestrians that are moving between kind of the commercial and residential areas along Harps Mill Road. This location was shifted again a little bit further away from the building because there's some retaining and grade changes there. So this was the area that got it, kind of in an appropriate place where we could have an accessible seating area, but outside of the sight lines of the traffic triangle. This site has overhead power lines along both frontages, so we're limited in some of the canopy trees that we could offer there. So we're actually proposing understory trees along both of these frontages. Along Falls of the Noose, they are set back with the anticipation of a widening project in the future, so that those can, when the power lines do shift to the east, the trees will still make sense with the site. Those that are being proposed are ornamental, native, and non-invasive redbuds, dogwoods, magnolia hybrids with maturing heights to 20 to 25 feet. This plan has been reviewed and presented to planning reviewers with no concerns expressed. And I would like to pass it over to Mike with HBA for a little bit more information.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike Winter. I'm with HBA Architecture. I'm the architect for the project. I want to walk you through sort of the elevations and I think some more easily digestible renderings to kind of give a better picture of what we're intending on the project. We worked with the community through the rezoning and met with our neighbors for the development of this site and the siting of the building. And one thing that we shared with them when developing up the building was that we wanted to create a strong presence on the corner and a two-story building ultimately to create that urban edge and enhance the corner. So we've carried that through in our design. Being limited to 15,000 square feet as a two-story building, you can see that it makes a pretty small footprint. But what we've done is we've increased the landscaping and enhanced the amenity areas, as Danielle mentioned. Kind of, this is the Falls of Neuse elevation. You can see there to the left-hand side of the building where the bike area is. We've created it's a small bike repair, actually maintenance area. So you can get a better shot of it here behind the young lady on the bicycle where the bike storage is. That'll be an amenity that extended beyond the edge of the building, as well as some enhanced landscaping. We provided an additional connection point to the right-of-way and the sidewalk. And just off screen, you can actually see maybe a little bit better in this image up the page. As mentioned, there is a bus shelter that will need to be provided. Currently there isn't one, but we'll be providing that. And so there was a good opportunity to provide both of those sort of bus stop and then the bike elements on the Falls of Neuse side of the project. If I move towards the Harps Mill elevation and down Harps Mill, we've created a small seating area. Harps Mill, of the two, both are primary, Falls of Neuse and Harps Mill, but Harps Mill leads into the neighborhood, is a more residential feel to it. So we thought it made more sense to provide, a bench and a seating area as it leads into that area, again, adjacent to the right-of-way and the sidewalk that's located out of there. Continued enhanced landscaping. So I think Danielle wants to kind of wrap up and then maybe answer some of your questions.
Thank you. So just, I think upon initial appearance commission review, when we submitted this to Carter, there was a question that we want to preemptively answer before it's asked. I think the question is, why can't we rotate or flip the building so that the longer side of the building is along Falls of Neuse? So essentially having the Harps Mill Road facade on Falls of Neuse and the Falls of Neuse facade on Harps Mill Road, and just kind of want to go through our reasoning and logic as to why we have the building placed as is. So we evaluated this site quite a few times to identify the best building placement, vehicular movement through the site for users going to the ATM, and how that plays into parking lot safety. Another item that was slightly touched on was Falls of Neuse is to be widened at a later date by NCDOT. We're providing adequate right-of-way dedication to NCDOT to widen this roadway in the future, but knowing that this work will be coming, we did not want our utility connection, our water connection off Falls of Neuse, so there would be no water disruption in the event during road widening, during construction. So our building is rotated in such a way, or placed in such a way, that the utility connections come out of the building on the Harps Mill Road side to tie into the public water and public sewer lines in Harps Mill Road to avoid any utilities disruptions during future road widening. Additionally, the sanitary sewer utility is coming out of the building, as mentioned, on the Harps Mill Road side. There is no public sewer main on Falls of Neuse, so it's important that we have sewer coming out of the building at that location based on the interior layout of the building. Additionally, NCDOT requires a 100-foot driveway throat length off of Falls of Neuse Road. That's why you see that longer driveway up there. That tied into the existing site grades are some of the reasons why the site is laid out as such. I don't have the existing grades showed up on this site plan, but at the Falls New driveway, the existing grade is about a 309, and at the driveway along Harps Mill Road, the grade is about a 298, I want to say. So we have about a 10-11 foot drop through the site. So just with site access and maneuverability, that longer throat length to pull more of the building down to that corner is why we have it as such. And then the biggest point as to why the building is rotated as such, just with how the bank's interior layout and the distance from the bank to the drive-through ATM is very important, as there's a pneumatic tube from the ATM to the bank. Typically, there's a 150-foot maximum length from ATMs to where into the building that the pneumatic tube is going to enter to the site. Currently, we're pushing that maximum length at 162 linear feet. So that's the maximum, we're exceeding the maximum that we can have a pneumatic tube from the ATM to the bank. We've looked at the option of rotating or mirroring the building. That completely changes the interior layout of the building and modifies that operation, and will add an additional 20 linear feet to that pneumatic tube, which will ultimately not allow it to work, as we'll be exceeding the maximum pneumatic tube length by 32 linear feet if we flip the building. So just wanted to answer that question before we open it up to questions, but that is our presentation. So we're here for any questions.
Thank you for that, and thank you for proactively answering some of those questions. Great. Are there any questions from the commission?
I had a couple questions. First, I want to say thanks for the thorough submittal. There's lots of information on here that we often don't get to see, so we really appreciate all the details, specifically the renderings that match the landscape plan. So I had a question about the bench location and the area around the bench. And so it may be for the landscape architect, I think it was Karen. Why is the bench where it is? And in the space between the bench and the building, I guess, who's going to sit in this bench? And is it meant for people who are visiting the building, or is there some other intent that I'm not seeing that is where it is?
I believe
We all three played parts of this.
Oh, cool. All
I'll
right, yeah.
kind of jump in and
Great.
answer your question.
Come on.
I think maybe it might make more sense if we can go back to that rendered view of it. Yeah, so that's the best picture of it. I'm an architect, so I like to look at pictures. We had some grade challenges with this site. It falls off quite a bit down Harps Mill. So as you can see in the background, there's a retaining wall there. We wanted to get the amenity area and the bench far enough away from that wall, so it did create sort of an opportunity for somebody to hide, to give them a little more sequestered area. So we pulled it down the site. It's a little closer to the neighborhood too, so we felt like it would be a little bit more of an amenity to those folks that are walking in the neighborhood than to push it all the way up on the building. But it's really the challenge of the grade was the real issue there that we were dealing with.
So the idea is that the bench is used by people from the neighborhood?
Sure. Yeah. We don't anticipate many of the bank customers utilizing that. It's there truly as an amenity for the community, and that's what we had in mind when we developed it.
Okay. And so some of the intent of the amenity area as built to is that it continues the facade of the building. And just looking at this image, I see that it really doesn't. There's this turf area that really doesn't continue in a way, and I'm wondering, is there a way you could extend that retaining wall, or add some kind of site wall, or repetitive understory or canopy tree planting that would extend that, or is there something that I'm not seeing that is making that
No, I think
possible.
that's something actually in our discussions. I think the bank would be amenable to adding some planting, some trees to continue the rhythm and that edge down through this turfed area. So I think that's something we could certainly add to the design.
It seems like it would be helpful. You know, that south-facing bench seems
Yeah.
not a place I would want to sit in wide open area.
Especially on a day like today.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little shade there. I think the bank would be willing to do that, and we could develop up and a revised planning and put some shade trees maybe there. We are limited a bit because of the overhead power lines, but that we still could work out something to provide that and create that edge that I think you're looking for.
Yeah, I had kind of the same thought, and I'm wondering if the same opportunities there on the north side. It looks like maybe you could just squeeze in like one or two more canopy trees, like just north of the bike rack. And I'm wondering too, is it maybe more useful to have like a picnic table that the bank employees could sit and eat at or something? I'm just trying to think of what would actually get used, because I do think it's not the greatest place to hang out right on the road there in the sun.
In
Just a
lieu of
thought.
the bike area?
In lieu of the bench.
Oh, in lieu of the bench.
And maybe it moves up. It looks like it's much flatter on the Falls of the Noose side.
It is. We're having to kind of bring the grade up. I mean, that's another point that currently, the grade falls away from back a curb, and a single-story building would really not have quite the presence that a two-story building would on this site. And so that was our decision to, have a two-story building, which then obviously limited our ability to stretch out along the frontage. But yeah, we could create an amenity in that area if and we're trying to do something that we think that would be used by the community. We weren't thinking about something for the use of the bank, but we could certainly look at doing that. I mean,
so Falls of the Noose is a really busy road, and I appreciate that the bench is not right on a busy road, because I think that would add to people not wanting to use it. And I understand that there's a grade challenge on that, on Harps Mill. I wonder if, I think Martha's got a really good point about something more than a bench, something that somebody might use for the building, because that's really what the intent of the amenity is, for people coming to the building and guests of the building. I'm just looking at this retaining wall that comes in by the parking lot on Harps Mill, and I wonder if that could come out a little more, and there could be a bench there that's kind of more connected to the building and is surrounded by plants and accessible, because it doesn't need to be out on the sidewalk. I think, yeah, something expanding that area just so you could connect.
Yeah, I think if it, being on that side, it is a less busy street. It would help activate it. It would be an amenity to the